All right, it is August. It is August 1st, and PBP is getting really close. We're now in the month. And in 9 days, I'll be on a plane heading over to France. And, well, it's really getting close, really getting real. A couple quick things I wanted to go over today in episode 35 of PBP Tips. Here goes. Okay, number one thing I wanted to talk about, and friend Rob Hawks, who's the RBA here in the San Francisco area, recommended, and that is to just mention once again the people of France and what they add to this ride. Doing PBP is really, now I haven't done any other 1200s, but I've ridden all over the US, and as nice as it is, PBP is way different because of, well, the French countryside and the French people. They really are marvelous, and they'll do everything they can for you. If you've never done PBP, you may be surprised. You're going to be out there at all hours of the day and night, regardless of what the weather is. The people of France are going to be out there supporting you, cheering you on, setting up little tables to hand out cookies and drinks and so on. It's a really marvelous experience because of them, and I do encourage you to reach out to them, say thank you. Most of us in the San Francisco Randonneurs are bringing little pins. I know a lot of other clubs do. Hand those out to the kids, to the families. They'll appreciate it, and by all means, say thank you to them because they're out there working, oftentimes very long hours, getting everything ready, marking the course, and then being there at the controls to help get everything that you need to keep you on the road. So thank you to the people of France. And really quick tip, when you're in France, bonjour goes a long way. If you know even a little bit of French, try and use it. They'll appreciate it. You'll find it easier, I think, to find people who speak English in the Paris area than out in the countryside. But use whatever French you have. They'll appreciate it. If they know any English, they'll try it. You'll get by. Don't worry about that. A few other things. In my email correspondence, a lot of the folks are starting to get really down into the weeds in GPS tracks and all that kind of stuff and time calculators and so on. If you've read or if you've listened to my other PBP tips videos, I don't put a whole lot of stake in that. I have never once, in riding PBP 3 times, looked at the route sheet. Never have. The course is extremely well marked. You don't need GPS. You don't need all the turn-by-turn directions. Really, you can turn that stuff off. Now, I may load that on my computer just because I don't think I'll be running it. It might be interesting just to see where I am at one point or another, but I've never, ever had to use a route sheet. Never used GPS on the route. Only got minorly lost once that I can remember. We figured that out within a few seconds and got back on the course. So don't worry about that stuff. And I personally am not going to worry a whole bunch about time calculators and watching that stuff. I'm going to do a little cheat sheet that has the opening and closing times and mileage to each of the controls. So I'm going to be watching that and just making sure that I'm staying ahead of the closing times. I have some basic goals on when I want to hit, say, Ludiac and Brest, and then Ludiac on the way back, and Mortain on the way back. And as long as I'm hitting those and getting reasonably close, I'll have a good idea of where I am on time. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time out on the course, obsessing over how much time I have in the bank. You just got to get out there and ride, be consistent, stay on the bike, don't stop too long at the controls, and you'll be fine. Another thing really quick, and then I'm not going to talk a whole lot in this video because I got one or two more before the ride starts, is looking for food. There's been, again, some talk on the email lists about where you should look for food. Some people have had success going to controls, checking in, and then finding food elsewhere. Now, personally, I've never really had to wait in line at the controls for food. I've always done the 84-hour group, so obviously I think it's different for the 90-hour group, which is bigger, but I've never had to really wait in line at the controls. So the time factor has never been a big deal for me. I get to a control, I check in, I go to the cafeteria, which is usually pretty close. I can get my food. It's there. It's usually good food. Much of it is locally prepared. If you look in the kitchens, kind of behind the scenes that you can see, it's all local people and they're making local dishes. So maybe you can find something else at other places. But my experience has been that you can't just like check in and then right out of the control and find a store. There are really no 7-Elevens. There's a lot of mini marts in France, especially out in the countryside, and especially between the bigger cities. So I've always had good luck going to the controls, getting food there. It's there. It's convenient. Get it over with. Get it over and done with, and get back on the road. You don't have to worry then about finding something and leaving town and, well, my gosh, I haven't seen a store to stop at. So I'll just throw that out there. Obviously, if you're getting into a control and let's say you're in the 90-hour group, there's a huge line for food, yeah, maybe you might want to think about not waiting there for 15-20 minutes for food, riding on until you find the next place. I will say, and I've said this many times, if you are hungry, thirsty, whatever, and you're out there and you see a store, you see a boulanger, you see a cafe, whatever that's open, stop, because you may not see another one for a while. So just be aware of that. And other than that, as I mentioned, I think in my last video, my PBP box of stuff is starting to fill up. I'm going to keep on just tossing stuff in there. I have done what I talked about last time, which is started to charge up stuff that I'm not going to use between now and then, so I don't have to worry about whether everything is charged when I get to France. I did not put my bike in a case this past weekend because I was sick. That's going to happen this coming weekend. I just don't like doing that, but got to do it. So I'm going to put the bike in the case this weekend, get that over and done with. That'll be a big load off, and then it's just a matter of packing up all my bike clothes and so on. I'll try and do a little video showing sort of how that looks before I throw it all in the suitcase. So that's it for this edition of PBP Tips. Again, if you haven't already and you want to, please subscribe, hit that notification icon down there. And if you haven't already, I encourage you to follow my Instagram and Twitter feeds. I'll be posting photographs from France and from the ride, maybe a tiny bit of video, but probably not a whole lot. And you can follow my progress as I get over to Europe and travel around a little bit. If you're going to Rambouillet, you can look for me there the Friday before the ride. That's when I check into the Airbnb that we'll be staying at. So I'll be around before that, but arriving in the start town on the Friday before PBP, and hopefully doing some rides with the other American cyclists. There's some great riding out there. And I do expect that Rusa and some of the other groups are going to put together some little day rides, so I hope to do some of those, and definitely hope to see many of you over there in France. That's it for now. See you next time, and see you very, very soon in France. Bye.